podcast. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined as always by the one and only Dakota Lasky. Dak, how was your New Year? How you doing?
My New Year was pretty good, pretty good. I mean, it was super low key, didn't really do anything, and just played some games. But otherwise, yeah, it was nice and relaxing, I guess. Pretty uneventful, but that's the theme for a lot of these holidays of the past year. But we're in 2021, and yeah, it was all right, not too bad. I did watch the new movie Soul, which I really recommend. That was really good. That Disney Pixar movie. I mean, the animation is crazy good. It's one of the best animated movies I think I've ever seen. So highly recommend that. Watched a lot of movies. I watched that. I watched Tenet, which was pretty good, if confusing, but pretty entertaining watch. Not sure if I'd go back and watch it too much, but I'd like to watch it again. Shrek, another animated classic, and Vantage Point. I don't know if you've ever seen that with Dennis Quaid and a bunch of other people. But anyway, yeah, watch a bunch of movies, some games, and here I am on the other side of the holiday break, getting back to work and all that. How are you doing?
Oh, can't complain. I've been I feel like I watched a lot of movies in the last little bit too. A lot of sci-fi. I rewatched all the Blade Runners, rewatched Judge Dredd and RoboCop and lots of good stuff. I finally finished Altered Carbon Season 2, so
Nice.
got my sci-fi in. I got some good games going on as well. I finished Pikmin 3, which is just so fun. So yeah, I can't complain. Can't complain. It was definitely a quiet New Year's. Actually, I've been dabbling a little bit in Super Smash Bros. Lately, which I hadn't for a long time. And it's kind of funny to me that now when I play Smash, I'm actually really into the collecting the spirits and stuff like that, which isn't what I thought I would be when I first saw them. I thought they were kind of lame, but yeah, I've got all the spirits now. So I tried my hand at Ridley the other day and got destroyed. So still got a long ways to go before I'm even somewhat competent. But yeah, it was pretty fun to get back into Smash. I forgot how fun that was. But yeah, it's the first new show of the year 2021, and I'm open for some good things. Before we get going here, we should really thank everybody for all of your support, all your kind words, all your everybody who listened to the Omega Metroid podcast in the year 2020. The year 2020 was kind of a miss in a lot of ways, but one of the highlights for me was really starting this podcast and connecting with all of these other Metroid fans out there. I know that there's not a ton of us, but I feel like us fans out there are really passionate and really into Metroid. So that was a pleasure. If you listened to the podcast in 2020, thank you very much, and we can't wait to share what we got going on for 2021.
Yeah, at the very least, it gives us something to look forward to every week, So that's pretty decent. So yeah, thanks for listening, and it's been cool doing the show. I'm glad that we got together and started doing this, and haven't missed a beat except 1 week, which I think is pretty solid. Going almost every single week since we started this up back, almost a year ago. We're approaching that year mark, which is pretty crazy to think about. How long, and yet how quickly 2020 went by. But that being said, there's still a lot more to go, and hopefully by our 100th or 200th or maybe 300th episode, we'll have a new Metroid game to talk about. And then we'll have a lot of content to do, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Maybe 500. I think the latest release date that Amazon gave us for Metroid Prime 4 was sometime in 2023. So maybe they know something that we don't. I love those. I love those release dates.
Oh my god,
they're so funny.
I'll literally be almost, if not 30 years old, if that's the case when this game comes out, which is pretty disappointing, but hopefully it's just good when it comes out, but hopefully it comes out sooner than that.
I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. As you alluded to, we have had a very successful run of shows, and we haven't missed any weeks except for one, and that was 2 weeks ago, and that was due to a technical snafu. So we are here today to right that wrong. We are re-recording that episode, kind of. The episode that we had originally recorded, and then we had our technical snafus, we delved back into the world of cut Metroid Prime content. And what we covered was Metroid Prime 2. But what we found while we were recording before it kind of all went to hell was that a lot of that stuff was actually present in Metroid Prime 1.5. So today we're just running straight towards Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and we are going to be covering all of the cut content that Mama Robotnik over on Reddit has assembled for us. Again, if you have not checked out this thread of cut content in the Metroid series, it's a series of images, storyboards, text, etc., of ideas that were kicked around and ultimately not used. And I can't recommend reading it enough. I'll put the link to this in the show notes. I'll tweet it out. So I really encourage you guys to open this up and follow along with us as we go. But yeah, here we are. We are gearing up for Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, Dak, and I guess we should just start right at the top. Why don't you take us away?
Yeah, well, first, this was on NeoGaf, so put some respect on Mama Robotnik's first original thread.
You know what? You're right. Wow.
Yeah, all the way back to the day on NeoGaf. But yeah, so we're doing some Corruption. I'm sure there's some like Hunters and Toon Metroid content stuff too that I'm sure if we don't talk about today, we'll talk about maybe in another episode, and then that way we could maybe circle back to some of the stuff we didn't talk about from Echoes, because there was a little stuff we didn't cover that we just unfortunately couldn't get to due to what happened. But yeah, so we're going to start off with Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, the third main Metroid Prime game. And I mean, despite it not being 1 or 2, I still really love Corruption. It's still such a really solid game. Absolutely awesome game. And there was a lot of it that didn't make, final production. And it starts off, at least on this thread, with what looks like a cutscene like storyboard, right? Which seems to have almost nothing to do with what ends up being included in Metroid Prime 3. If you remember, the introduction to Metroid Prime 3 is pretty similar to the first Metroid Prime. It has like this bluish white like bug in the background, like looks like X-rays, and like a really like very similar to Metroid Prime like intro song, and it has nothing like this. The thread talks about it in like having a James Bond-esque opening scene with like Samus fighting Kraid, which looks cool, but has almost nothing to do with what Metroid Prime 3 ends up being, so I'm not surprised they didn't go with it. Obviously, Kraid's not in Corruption, but it looks kind of cool. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, you know that I love anything with my boy,
Yeah.
So I'm all about this. I don't know if that's actually Kraid or not. It certainly bears some similarities, but there's some differences too. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's not surprising that they ended up cutting it because, this monster is nowhere to be found in this game. So, and I don't know. I feel like Corruption really is kind of the climax of the story of Light versus Dark, Samus versus Dark Samus. So to kind of have your title screen with Samus going up against like this giant monster, I think would have been out of place. If they had replaced this with an Aurora unit, I could have seen that maybe make a little bit more sense and keep that. But yeah, I'm not surprised that they cut this. But I do love that we get like Bug Kraid here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks cool, and I like the end shot, like Metroid Prime 3. Like it looks like if this was going in a much different direction, like this would be cool. But yeah, it's not very reminiscent of what the actual Metroid Prime 3 is or its intro. So still looks really cool. I guess it's not. Like you said, it's not necessarily Kraid, but I would say if I had to pick a Metroid character that it was most resembled, I would put my money on Kraid. Sure. So
yeah.
And speaking of another Metroid enemy that we certainly can notice resembles another one we know of, Crocomire is just straight up mentioned in this thread as well. There's some Crocomire concept art here. It looks like a bunch of different poses and whatnot, and so this, I guess, is being tied to Metroid Prime 3. So, this could have been from any of the Metroid Primes, right? It doesn't look like it's particularly, tied to one Metroid Prime game, but it seems like it's suggesting that it could be, or speculating that this could be from Metroid Prime 3. A bunch of different forms for Crocomire and poses, up to 19 of them. And I mean, some of them are pretty wildly different from the other ones. Like in the first image, Crocomire looks like a grasshopper, and then has like a fish form, and these like I mean, his body's completely like warped and changed, and all these different kinds of Crocomires almost looking like different like forms of Metroids and whatnot, or other creatures. But really interesting stuff. I don't know how that would have worked in Prime 3, or if it like would have made sense to do it. But I think it would be cool to have maybe like a transforming Crocomire, or all these different forms of Crocomire showing up for some reason. I don't know. Would have been cool if they figured that out somehow.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth when I was looking at this. I was like, man, they kind of look like Metroid evolutions, especially like number 12. It kind of looks like the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that this would have been cool. Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on how I feel about guys like Crocomire coming back and stuff like that. Because on one hand, I feel like, okay, well, they were native to Zebes, so it doesn't really make sense that they're showing up on like Brio or Alicia or anything like that. But on the other hand, like I also don't really care that much, so like I would just be happy to see him back, because I feel like you kind of get, Fantoon shows up out of nowhere, but maybe that makes a little bit more sense because he's like this spectral being, but he shows up on the bottle ship. You got Ridley, of course, going into all these different stories and games and stuff like that. So I think it would have been cool to have Croc come back. Maybe what they could have done too is like, and I don't know why I thought this, but I always kind of got the impression that like Crocomire was like this mama crocodile or something like that. Like maybe these are her eggs and like these are little like Crocomire monster baby children or something like that. Or maybe it's just because the drawings are little. But
Yeah.
I think that they look cool. I would have been down to see Croc come back. Maybe it wasn't native to Zebes. Who knows?
Well, that's
So yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say I think that's what makes the most sense. Is that like if Crocomire were to come back, it would be like, okay, Crocomire is not native to Zebes. It just so happens that Samus fought one on Zebes, right? And you can see a couple of these, like the 12th image and the 15th image. Like you can see Samus there for scale, and those are really big. So like that could be cool if there were different kinds of Crocomire that appeared on different planets. Because in the text below this, the thread creator, the OP kind of suggests that this could be some kind of space pirate thing where they brought him back like Ridley. But I feel like Ridley makes sense because Ridley's kind of like a general on the battlefield,
yeah, he's
and
the
a little more
general.
right. Like you kind of want Ridley back, like he's like resuscitating Darth Vader, right? Like you kind of want to bring him back. Whereas Crocomire was kind of just like, he wasn't really a space pirate. He was just like a beast on Zebes, right? Or just some like animal that Samus fought. And I don't think like the space pirates really have any interest in like resuscitating what is essentially a wild animal, as far as I know, and really
Hmm.
is just some random thing, right? So I think it would make more sense for it to be like a more common like organism that just appears on other planets, and that would be cool. That'd be a cool way to bring it back, right? Like that would, I feel like that would be less contrived than like, oh, Crocomire is also a space pirate general, and here's Meta Crocomire. Like that doesn't, like, I guess Kraid, that makes like Kraid kind of toes the line between these two. Even Kraid, I would say, is probably not a character that like, why would the space pirates create another Kraid that's so huge and like haul his ass all around? Same thing with Crocomire, can't really fly, but yeah, interesting ideas here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I always had a soft spot for Crocomire, mostly just because I felt like horrible at the way he like literally melts to death in Super Metroid. So yeah, I think that it would make sense if like you found out that the Crocomire on Zebes wasn't native to the planet, and I still got my fingers crossed that we might see him again, either in like maybe Metroid 5, or if they do that rumored Super Metroid remake. So who knows? We'll see. One guy that I definitely wish that we did see is this giant space pirate looking monstrosity here that is right underneath. This guy looks like the Hulk and Thanos and Thor mixed into one. He just looks like incredibly awesome. He doesn't really have a neck. His head is like melded into his shoulders. He looks like something that you fight in Doom. He's got like pincers instead of hands. Really, really cool design. Very like alien, very, very Phazon kind of influence looking. This is a great design, and I'm wondering why like it actually didn't get into the game, because it almost looks like, it kind of looks like the Omega Pirate, but maybe a little bit buffed up in a sense. So this guy looks really, really cool, I think, and it's too bad that we never got the opportunity to fight him.
Yeah, it almost reminds me a little bit of the original Metroid Prime, right? Like the insect form. It kind of has that look a bit to me, like just how like the lines and the lights between it, and like how it doesn't have like a head. It kind of has like a face in like a body. And it even says right there like pirate, like an unknown like pirate prime boss, like kind of speculating that maybe there's some kind of connection there. Yeah, really awesome design. Goes for that more like insecty space pirate look that like a lot of the concept art of Metroid Prime has like so much like insect like aesthetic influence for the space pirates that I guess kind of gets toned down a little bit for the games. But yeah, this would be a really cool enemy and absolutely would fit right in with like you said like Doom or something along that line, which just a really awesome looking kind of sci-fi enemy and really kind of any game there too. So yeah, looks awesome. Wish we could have fought it.
Yeah, like very, very physically imposing, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he's got those like four weird beady little orange eyes, I just think makes him look very creepy. So yeah, it's too bad that we never got to fight this guy. I'm wondering if maybe this kind of morphed into the Omega Pirate that we saw in Prime One. I'm not sure, but I think that if we were to fight him, we would have definitely needed the Samus Hulk Buster armor that we've got next. We have got Samus in. I mean, how else could you describe that other than literally Hulkbuster armor? It looks almost identical, no?
Yeah, it's definitely similar. I don't know if it's supposed to be as big though, right? Like the Hulkbuster is like two or three times bigger than the actual like regular Iron Man suit. This like I don't know what they're doing here. It looks like they like prop the front of a car on like Samus's like head and chest or something there. But I really like the idea of having this like reverse engineered like Galactic Federation suit. It's more of like a mech than like a power armor, though some of the sketches in there make it look like there is some kind of it's more of like a power suit than mech. But it has like a bit of a Federation Force look to it, but like a Federation Force was cool and better made,
Yeah.
right? Like this is what it would look like.
Like I kind of got the vibes where like maybe this is Samus's ship actually, and like you can go all Transformers into it, and like you get the Hulkbuster plate that comes down, like she's in the cockpit or something like that, and like it is this big mofo mech because I think that that would be cool. But like, yeah, I mean basically that's like Federation Force, but not lame. So yeah, maybe in our Federation Force 2 game that we were pitching a few months ago, we should have mentioned the Samus Hulkbuster. Who knows?
That would be cool. At the having see this is what they got to do in the Fusion sequel is have this like reverse engineered Galactic Federation Samus stuff as you fight them, right? Like that. This is perfect for that.
Yeah, I would. I mean, not to go all like Zone of Enders, but man, can you imagine like you're in space and you're in your gunship, and all of a sudden you like it transforms into like this giant mech with arms and an arm cannon and stuff. That might be too
That might be a bit
like
much.
anime, but that'd be a cool cutscene to watch. By God.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going here. Further down the list, we get a screenshot of. I'll just read right from it. Power ups for the morph ball. So at one point they were potentially thinking of putting in the boost ball and the spider ball, which is in. The phazon ball, which who knows what that is. The ice ball, the fireball flammable, for the regular fireball, and the cannonball. So, from what I'm getting from this image, is that and there's some very cool looking images of like different types of morph balls right under it. But like what I'm getting at or what I'm reading from this is that they were very much thinking of like integrating morph ball combat in a much bigger way than it ended up being in Metroid Prime 3. And I'm wondering if like fireball and ice ball kind of pertains to like maybe the bombs that you would have been able to drop off, or if like you are actually like when you transform into the morph ball, like you're a ball of fire or something like that. Because like you, I mean, we have the boss battles of Metroid Prime 2 that are like literally morph ball boss battles, but there's nothing really like that in Metroid Prime 3. So I'm wondering if maybe they thought of that and then moved away from it and decided just to go with like the more traditional combat, or if maybe there was some other reason that they couldn't implement this. But we've talked about before that like it seems like the power bombs are kind of they're a little bit stale, and they probably could use some different customization in order to spice up that little bit of combat.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the ice ball and the fireball and might have been just to like explore areas further, right? Like going through ice, going through fire. And it even says that I think like right in the thread over here it says yeah, like Brio, right, would be a perfect
Hmm.
area for those. Like you go into areas covered in fire, covered in ice. You could use the balls to maybe get farther in there. Maybe you'd use the phase-in ball in like more of a combat situation or like to get access other areas that aren't like closed off by ice or fire or height or whatever. Um, Maybe the flammable was meant to like like your morph ball in the fireball form wouldn't be like literally fire, but maybe in the flammable form it could have like some kind of flamey ore or something like that. I don't know what the cannonball would be. Maybe some way to like shoot
Just
yourself,
launch
like
yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
like some kind of launcher. That'd be really cool. I wish they kind of played with more of that. I think we talked about this in a previous episode not too long ago, where like we'd love
Hmm.
to see more variations of the morph ball and more ways to use it. And it seems like they had some kind of idea of doing that, but it seems like they cut that early in development because we only have this screenshot. This is from what looks like a debug menu, so we don't even get to see anything. Don't even see what it looks like. There's some kind of concept art which shows what looks like could be like the cold ball or the ice ball or the fireball, whatever. And they could also just be like morph ball designs. They do look really cool though, if a bit abstract. But I like the interlocking gear design. That looks really cool. The other morph ball kind of looks like like a Noxus morph ball, as if it was like inspired by hunters, right? Interesting stuff though.
Hmm.
I would love some more morph ball stuff.
Yeah, I think that it's cool that you can like just literally see the first piece of concept art there is just it looks like it's the regular morph ball and you can like see all the gears and stuff inside of it and
Mm-hmm.
it's just an inside look into it. So it's very very cool. It just it's kind of like almost like a peek behind the curtains of like what the heck goes on when Samus turns into a morph ball. So yeah, it looks really cool. It's too bad that we like didn't get anything like that. I think one of the strengths of Metroid Prime is that it reintroduced the spider ball, and you had a lot of different puzzles and different ways to explore with that. And it feels like they haven't really built off that since then. So hopefully in Prime Four
Mm-hmm.
we can maybe look at expanding that. But yeah, let's continue here. We got a few shots of your man, and these
Yeah.
images. One of them is just like literally concept art, so we've all seen that before. And the one below it is of it looks like a Phazon kind of infested Ridley. He really really looks like a dragon in this particular piece of concept art. This is another fairly famous piece of concept art. I love the way that his wings look though. They look like robotic almost, which really fits in with the Meta Ridley aesthetic. He looks very very cool. He looks like he's just like this possessed dragon demon, and he looks very intimidating.
Yeah, the first one looks. There are some differences, but he actually almost looks a lot like his Smash Ultimate, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate version in the first image. Um, yeah, but pretty much like how he kind of looks in the first Metroid Prime. And then yeah, the second one, that concept art, I think that's like one of the most like notable concept art images from Metroid Prime 3. Like I've seen it so many times, and Ridley doesn't really look like that in either his meta form or his Omega form in the game. But I really wish he did, because this looks so awesome, and he really looks so sick, like way more alien, demonic, like really corrupted by Phazon. You're right, like the wings have this like kind of like motherboard look to it, right? Like a printed
Mm-hmm.
like chip, like a computer chip almost. And then like the really organic phasony looking body, it's so sleek and like edgy, like literally, and like formed like that, which look very distinctly different than like the metaform, and not as goofy looking as the Omega form, or how it kind of looks in Prime 3 at times. I love this, one of my favorite like Ridley concept arts like just ever. So this is, I guess, like more of what they were kind of looking for, this like his image to what he was supposed to really look like in the game. And obviously like they can only do so much in 2007 on the Wii graphically, but really looks
Mm-hmm.
cool though.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Let's keep going here. We've got an image of Samus kind of shedding her arm cannon and her helmet. Looks like her suit's been damaged. Not really a whole lot going on in this image, other than you can see like Zero Suit Samus kind of coming out of the of the power suit. Looks pretty cool, but not really a whole lot else going on.
Yeah, that's some art. Looks cool. Maybe there was a sequence or a scene in which Samus does this in Prime 3. It would be really cool and cinematic and maybe a little cheesy. But I've always wanted to see like Samus's like suit really destroyed in a Metroid game and not just like falling to pieces or like disappearing or whatever, but like it looks like torn there. It looks pretty awesome and she's like comes out of it. But at the same time it also looks way bigger than her, right? Like she's like,
Oh, look, ginormous.
you know what I'm
She
saying?
might as well be in that mech.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, look, the proportions look a little bit off, but it looks cool though.
I should give a shout out actually. I unboxed my arm cannon finally. I bought it at EB Games like 6 months ago, and when I was waiting to move until I finally opened it, but I finally did, and I put my arm inside of it. That thing's cool. It's got like a little trigger you can even pull. You can shoot imaginary people. It's pretty dope. So I'm gonna take a picture of that and tweet it out for you guys. This is kind of weird. Next up on the list here, we have three pictures of, I guess, flesh. They are
Flesh
they're
chamber.
textures, and their file names are skin carpet, eye flesh, meat floor, muscle rim, and shell wall. So there you go.
If you're trying to start like a metal band, I think you just got several great names there, like skin carpet, eye flesh, meat floor. Like those are right there, really good band names. So I would jot those down.
Uh, Ditto too. If you're looking for your first album cover art, I mean, look no further than
Yeah.
Shell Wall. So let's move on. Let's talk about this. This is a pretty badass piece of concept art here. We have like I don't even know. This almost looks like a space station to me with like a dragon head on top of it, and you could infer that maybe that's Ridley. Maybe it's not. It looks like it's like chained or tethered down or something like that. It looks very, very, very cool. I don't know how Metroid necessarily it looks, but it's a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool like float. What would you even call this? Like a floating fortress almost.
I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't I don't know what this is. Like is it a fortress? Is it like just something that would be in like a room? Like is it like a device? Like I I have no idea what it is. It's certainly if you were to tell me this was from a Metroid game, I would have no way to verify that because it doesn't even look like anything that has anything to do with Metroid. But I don't know. I think it looks like some kind of device. Like I wouldn't say it's like a space station or like some kind of like tower or station of like some kind. I think it would be like you find this in a room somewhere and it does something. I don't know. I have no idea.
Like that's the thing. You can't tell if it's like a foot tall or like 1,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it could be anything. I kind of get like Super Mario RPG vibes from it actually, and I don't know why, but I just do. Let's keep going here. I really, really love this next sequence of images. One of my favorite parts about Prime 3 is the gradual like degradation of your PED suit as you absorb more and more phazon. I think that really kind of helps offset the fact that like you don't get a ton of different like suit upgrades or different suits in that game. It just looks really cool. And the next couple images here are like of Samus's actual face and her eyeballs also reflecting that corruption. And I feel like this was like a missed opportunity to show this because I can't imagine it would have been that hard to get a shot here and there of like Samus's face and like what the corruption is actually doing to her. I think it looks like really, really cool though. I guess to be fair, you can see these images
I was gonna say
when you flat like the reflection comes in the visor, but like I feel like a close up shot of this would have been like really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I've seen this like through my playthroughs of Metroid Prime 3, and you do see it like in your reflection. I agree that like they should have just like taken the time to like I don't know give like a quick cutscene or a quick like cut to like her face in some like preset like situation or moment just to like really make it clear that's what's happening. And why not do that like once for each like you can only do this like 4 times or even like 3 times. I definitely agree they should have like really been a little more forward with making this more noticeable, but I think it's still a really like cool subtle detail that if you're really observant, you'll get this. And certainly by like the end of the game, I think it's a lot more noticeable. You almost at least see it at least once or twice while you're playing without, trying, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, I wish they would have just like you said, like shown it. I think that could have been pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, like you only do it 4 times, right? So why not?
Mm.
Flowing into that is the actual degradation of the suit. You can see the different concept arts of like Samus's corruptions in stage one, and then two, and then three and four, and stage four, like it kind of says here, is nearly indistinguishable from Dark Samus's suit. The only difference is like kind of the shape of the visor itself. But other than that, our girl is looking a lot like Dark Samus here.
Yeah, so they only had like the three stages in the game, and they didn't include the fourth one, which pretty much makes her look exactly like Dark Samus. Which I think the most part is that like it's her suit's almost entirely black and then blue, right? Doesn't have any orange in it left, so it's pretty like on the nose. Like, okay, like you look exactly like Dark Samus. You've been that corrupted. Honestly, again, I think that's one of those things where it's a cool subtle, like not super subtle, but it's a cool detail for like Samus to go through these stages and become closer and closer to being like very, as indistinguishable as possible from Dark Samus until the very end. I think they could have just gone that step further. Like, why not? Um, just to really like drive that, forward. And because it looks really cool, like I think that would have been an awesome fight to see. Because even in game, like this is concept art, like in game, I think that final stage, Samus still looks pretty like Samusy and doesn't look like too much like Dark Samus, even when she's fully corrupted. um I think like the having that like go the step further, you might as well, and it would look really cool. But still interesting to look at that. That was something that they planned, or at least had the idea and played around with a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It is too bad that they didn't go like one step further, especially when you're at the end of the game when you're on phase and like if you don't like unload all the phase on from menu, you just that'd be kind of cool if you literally just turned into like another Dark Samus or something. But I still think it was pretty cool, like what we ended up getting. The corruption suit or the PED suit when it's corrupted does look really cool. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is too bad that they didn't go one little bit step further. Let's keep it going here, and the next couple images are a bunch of different concept art of the planet Brio, and I guess the original ideas were very different from what we ended up getting. I guess it was supposed to be a lot more like lush and like jungle esque, and you know what, Brio I feel like is kind of like a smorgasbord of like a fire level, but there's also some lush areas, but there's also that ice section. So looks like at one point they were going to really focus in on like the jungle aspect, maybe pulled it back a little bit. Anything special you make of these images?
Yeah, I guess they were going for a different, idea when they originally came up with the concept for Brio, and I like this like fungal. It is like lush in a way, but it feels more like, decaying, and it has that like fungal look to it. There's mushrooms and spores and like these spiky, um fungus looking things all over the place, and a lot of like smoke. And it looks kind of, it just doesn't look like it's like living or growing necessarily, even though there's stuff living there. It might not necessarily be like a lush jungle, so to speak. I like how it looks. I wish they had gone with this idea, maybe just not a Brio or somewhere else, but this idea of this big like overgrown with you know all these different kinds of spores and fungus, right? And that's like a big area you're fighting against. But I think a lot of areas in Metroid, and especially in the Prime series, do kind of have a similar look to it, or some kind of, especially in Prime 3 and Prime 2, have this like some spory fungal kind of look to it. Um, so I don't know. It's still a cool look, and I think the Brio we got was awesome as well. And we're gonna get a little more into that next. But I like this art. It's definitely, I would love to have like,
Yeah,
especially the second part like that where you're going over like the bridge with all like the towers in the distance, and like I wonder what's going on over there. Like that'd be really cool to check out. And these huge spores all over the place, a ton of clouds and smoke. Looks really cool. Definitely some interesting art here.
I wonder if they maybe changed the second one in particular because that was kind of similar to Skytown. I could see that actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, sticking with Brio, we got some pretty cool murals here. There's like some very ancient depictions of like uh, Brian, I guess, warriors. He's fighting like a this dude almost looks like Kraid. Actually, he looks pretty cool, but I'm pretty sure he's like the I don't even know what you call it, the golem, I guess, that helps you get to and fro in Brio. But it's very cool artwork here, and like kind of the yellow and the red swirls like really remind me of some of the designs in Zelda. Actually,
Hmm. Yeah, this is. I mean, these like, what are they, murals? I guess, right? You'd call them.
hmm
Yeah,
yeah,
I, yeah, it very much reminds me of like Wind Waker, looking at them. But I love I think this is really cool, and I think having this like artwork like reminds me a lot of like Metroid Prime, where you originally go into it, you see a lot of like the Chozo artwork and like artifacts and all of that. Um, I think the Luminoth have some of this stuff too, so I think it would definitely have fit into the game, and I think like having like the Brionians, right, like in there really gives it that distinct look like of these like sentient actual like cultural creatures, right, and that they had this whole society and whatnot. Really breathed some more life into the game and like the actual character behind the the area and behind the scenes. And I assume these, I guess, don't show up in the game anywhere, but it would have been cool to have them show up. I assume that they were just made available on the internet somewhere, but these would have been cool to see like somewhere in game, a bunch of murals and kind of going through the past and whatnot. You do learn a little bit of what happened, like about the Brionians a little bit, but like this would have been cool too. And I really love this artwork. It's actually some great artwork, especially the second image. I think is awesome.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Let's keep it going and let's move on to what Mama Robotnik describes as potentially a lost world, and it's a very lush, peaceful looking green field that Samus's ship is flying over, and it's like I can't tell if it's supposed to be underwater or like if that's like a cliff or something like that, but it looks very corally to me. The only way to describe it is really just to go and look. It's kind of a weird piece of art, and right underneath of it are the Edacoons, who I guess are called Endocoons, potentially, in Metroid Prime 3. So they, at one point, maybe were rumored to come in, and maybe they were living in this peaceful place. I don't know. What do you make of this piece of art, Dak?
The art is something else. It looks really cool. It's like a from how I'm looking at it, it's like a wall with like this like coral like hole-ish opening with like some kind of thing going across its diameter, and then inside of it, in this like I don't know, some ring or tube, like there's grass in the bottom, and then like deeper in you can kind of see like what looks like a bubble encased like city almost. Like it looks like there's like these towers going up there or some other kind of tubes. I mean, really, really wild and abstract. It's hard to make of it. Or maybe it's like a hole in the ground that she's traveling into. I don't know, but it looks like some kind of, maybe even some kind of city, some kind of civilization or something left behind. And there actually looks like there's a little, like if you see a buffer gunship on the top right of it right there, it looks like a ferry from Zelda. I don't know what that is, but anyway, like it looks like Tattle or what are the whatever its name, right?
Yeah, I could see that.
Kind of looks
Yeah,
like that.
it's got some Navi vibes
No,
going
looks
on.
Navi.
Yeah.
There we go. Tattle's the one from Majora's Mask. Great. Anyway, yes,
That's a deep cut though. I'm impressed that you knew that.
yeah. So I don't know. This art is cool as hell. I just wish I kind of knew what I was looking at. But yeah, some kind of lost world. I'd be interested in Samus going to like these more abstract looking places that are almost like surreal in how they're made and like built. I think that'd be really interesting to take that kind of turn for the places that Samus goes to, rather than just like, okay, they're planets with different biomes, right? Which is fine, but usually that's what like Metroid does. Like this is real. I have no idea really what this is, and that's what I really like about it. Like I would love to explore this, but I couldn't really figure it out. And then yeah, below this, the Endokun, great name.
Endoku.
Love Endokun, way better than Edakun. And
Do you think that they're possessed by X parasites?
I do. Those are clearly X parasites. Look how they're floating in the air. But yeah, some really cool artwork here that I don't. This is the artwork. It's is Oh, that's just concept art from Edakun.
That's
Okay.
just official,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think,
that's
artwork. Yeah.
official artwork. I was like, oh, that looks exactly like an Edakun. It is an Edakun.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess there's just like a Endokun, which maybe it's a type of Edakun, like it's an older, like another version, or I don't know, it's a subspecies or something like that. I don't know. I would love to see what the Endokun was supposed to look like.
I think that somebody gave the Edacoons like a leaf stone and they evolved into the Endocoons, maybe. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Let's keep it going and talk about Admiral Dane. This guy looks absolutely ridiculous. I am so glad that they didn't use this. He has an eye patch, a peg leg, a red cape, and a lightsaber rapier sword. He looks so ludicrous that it's actually kind of awesome. But can you imagine this guy showing up in Metroid Prime 3?
Hell yeah, he looks awesome. I want this guy. I want this Admiral Dane. I want this Admiral Dane in the Fusion sequel. And I don't.
Like
Yeah,
this Admiral Dane is a space. He's a space pirate. I mean, this is a pirate if I've ever seen one in my life, right?
yeah. Maybe he. This is like the bad Admiral Dane you have to fight at the end of the game. He gets like turned to the dark side or something like that. His This is an awesome design. Like maybe just
Boy,
like
boy.
change his face a little bit and like just make him somebody else. Like I'm totally down for this character. Looks super awesome. I really like it.
You know what? I actually could totally get behind this if we got rid of the peg leg. The peg leg just kills it for me. Like, it's so ludicrous. But again, it's so ludicrous that it's kind of awesome actually. Like if this guy showed up in Smash, I would be like, okay, cool, let's do it. Peg leg attack.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
yeah.
This is the character we need. Screw Silex. We need Pirate Dane.
Shout out to Pirate Dane, and yeah, this is definitely a bad boy too. He's a space pirate. He's got the eye patch. He's got a mean look on his face. If you're not following along with us, do yourself a favor. If you don't do anything else, and go check out Space Pirate Admiral Dane because this dude is not messing around.
Nope.
Let's go straight down to your boy again, Ridley. And I'm curious at your opinion on some of this concept art here, Dak.
I don't even know what I'm looking. So I've seen the second image I think before where he looks like I don't know like some like Akira Ridley like some crazy like cybernetic like demon Ridley. I don't even know what that is. The first one looks like Dry Bones Ridley. Like like if this was Ridley in like Mario Party and then he had a Dry Bones version, this would be him. Really goofy looking.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Interesting idea. I don't know how they would implement this into Metroid with it like making sense. Like maybe like a failed reincarnation of Ridley made by the space pirates and like it's all deformed looking and whatnot. That'd be cool. Or like maybe like a Ridley like meshed with a space pirate and that's what it looks like. That'd be cool. The second image, yeah, really crazy design. Like it almost looks like a Metal Gear Solid robot. Almost. I don't even know. Like it has this like it way more dinosaur like it looks like a robo like a cybernetic dinosaur almost. Both images don't have like either like a tail or like wings. And Ridley's head like looks a little more different. Like the first one, obviously, way more dinosaur-y and like almost Yoshi-like, and then the second one like way like flatter and thinner. I really like that second design. I think that would have been really cool with this like way more robotic, like almost entirely a robot, and like has this. It almost looks like a Mass Effect alien too. Like it's sick. I love the second design. And I would have loved to have seen that, maybe more than like the Omega Ridley we got.
I'm surprised that you didn't say this, but the first image to me, especially like his jaws and his beak, look exactly like Ridley X from Fusion. Like exactly.
Oh yeah, definitely has some Ridley X to it as well. And I mean that makes sense too because Ridley X is also like a deformed clone of a clone of Ridley. And I always like the idea of like the further they clone that clone over and over again, like the more deformed and feral and different it would look from the actual Ridley. So maybe that's like a similar idea here. But yeah, that's a good point. It does kind of have that Ridley X look to it.
Very dinosaur-like.
Yeah.
You nailed that. It's right on the money. I could see the second one, man, like fighting Samus's mech in space. We just have a big space battle between these two Gundams. Like
Yeah,
that'd be kind of
I'd
cool.
be down for that.
So
That actual like they bring back Mecha Ridley. They bring back the Ridley robot, and it's like Ridley Robot 2.0. It's
let's
like this.
go.
I'd be
Yeah,
down for
that'd be
that.
cool. Oh, you know what? The middle guy does have a tail. Actually, it's hard to see though because
Oh,
it's very light blue.
it's a tail. Okay, I got it.
It's yeah, but yeah, Metal Gear Solid is a good one. It kind of reminds me actually. I don't know if you played it or not, but Horizon Zero Dawn is like kind of it kind of has like dinosaurs, but they're mechanical, like they're robots, and this guy would fit right in that game. So yeah, very very cool. But I can understand why we didn't see it.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we've got like a ton of text under here, but I don't think there's anything too relevant. They're just what I'm assuming are unused kind of scans here about a bunch of different things. Turrets, phazon sprays, Gandrea is in here, or Gandreda. Anything sticking out to you here, or do you just want to move past that?
There's a whole lot of reading, but I see a couple interesting ideas here, but nothing too crazy. Shout outs to Salamander though, all the way at the bottom.
Well, we get some more screenshots from the ending of Metroid Prime 2 right underneath it, and it's kind of funny actually because like in Metroid Prime 3 you see Samus's gradual degradation, but in Metroid Prime 2 with each battle you see Dark Samus kind of succumbing more and more to the Phazon until you get to the end where like it's literally just her skull, and it's super creepy, it's super badass. I always really loved that, and I'm not really sure I ever kind of realized the juxtaposition of those two until like literally this moment.
Oh yeah,
Just in terms of the way that their suits break down.
yeah. Well, hey man, you're that's some literary insight right there. I think you're on the money. Maybe that was intentional, right? It was supposed to be a
Hey,
reflection.
maybe.
Who knows?
I got to hear what you think of this. I'm assuming this is Dark Samus right under here. I got to hear what you think of this. This looks like something literally out of my nightmares. I don't know if I can even do it justice. It's like there's a Dark Samus figure here, but it's like completely like it's got the shape, but it's got like ghost like kind of quality to it. The arm cannon is still blue, but other than that, it's a black and white suit with 3 orange eyeballs and a glowing orange orb in the middle. We have like a whip for a hand, which looks super demonic and menacing, and like a Dark Samus hood. This is Resident Evil stuff right here.
There's so many images from like the cut content and concept art from the Metroid Prime trilogy that like they could have made these games so much scarier and grotesque, and I almost wish they did. Like it just wasn't, maybe it just wasn't possible, and they're like Nintendo games, so they probably never would have. But like I think this design is so sick. It's the whip may be a bit ridiculous, but like I think like it looks so cool. Like it has a really like ghastly,
I would have been
ghoulish
up
look
for
to
that.
it. Like I love seeing the bones in there and like the half skull with the heart in the middle. Like it looks, and honestly, I am kind of about the whip. Yeah, I really wish, and even like down further where she has more of like the armor look, like the shoulder pads with the big phasing spikes and this huge like it's so organic looking and visceral.
Then the
Yeah,
skull is like protruding. I think that
yeah.
the center bottom one looks really really cool.
Honestly looks really sick. I really wish we could have gotten something like this. Like, I honestly, I know they'll never do it because maybe it doesn't appeal to as many people. Like, but like they could really go like more Dead Spacey, right, with Metroid Prime, and I think it would work so well. And maybe we would have gotten that had the Metroid Prime trilogy been made in more modern, times of game development rather than in the 2000s. So who knows? Maybe they'll go this route more with Metroid Prime 4. I doubt it, but some of the concept art from Trilogy is absolutely fantastic, and I love this look for Dark Samus. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, Metroid, I don't think has ever like shied away from like I don't think it's that far from Dead Space really. Like, because some of the monsters that you fight are fairly grotesque. Like maybe not to that to that certain level, but I don't think that it's like a quantum leap to get there. So like I could definitely see Prime 4 kind of putting its foot forward in that direction. Um, Yeah, this bottom middle version of Dark Samus, frankly, all of the versions of Dark Samus here on the bottom look very, very cool. And it is a little bit too bad that, instead of fighting this like jacked up, mutated version of Dark Samus, that we basically got like the same boss battle that we had in Metroid Prime 2, which, we fought Dark Samus 3 times in Metroid Prime 2. So like I always thought that the ending sequence with Dark Samus was a little bit weak actually in Metroid Prime 3. So it is too bad that we didn't get, something like this where it's like very distinctly different. Maybe this is too far and like you really wanted to have that image of like, Samus and Dark Samus and the dichotomy there, but yeah, it's too bad that we never got anything like this for sure.
I think if Metroid was made for Xbox or PlayStation or PC, like this is the kind of stuff we might get sometimes with Metroid, but because they're Nintendo games and like kids play them, even like Metroid still like is made for like a kid system a lot of the time, or like, with a lot of like crossover with a product that has a lot of kids games. Maybe these designs I think might be a bit too much for games that are likely being played by kids. Whereas if they wanted to do like a mature Metroid or like one that might skew a bit to older audiences, like this is definitely the stuff you would see. I think and it's just it might be a bit too scary for some people. I think if they really went with some of these designs and like how like crazy looking they are.
Yeah, yeah, okay, I guess. I don't know, man. I remember being pretty frightened at the SAX back in the day.
And
So
that's what I'm saying is the SAX is scary. And to be honest, like looking back at it now, it's not scary at all. And that's on a Game Boy Advance game. I mean, it's intense, but when I was a kid, that was scary. And honestly, there are moments in Metroid Prime itself which are somewhat scary, right? For kids, and
sure,
I would say
yeah,
compared to this stuff, that stuff is way more tame. So imagine this kind of stuff in a game.
yeah, that'd be pretty freaky
Mm-hmm.
for sure. All right, let's keep it going. Speaking of freaky here, we got a bunch of concept art of what is called the Space Pirate Metroid Breeding
Oh, you
Facility. And
skipped one.
this,
You skipped one, man. What about the Samus versus Space Pirates gift? Do you have that? Did it load on your thread?
oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I did skip that. Let's talk
Oh,
about that for a quick
I,
sec.
I just gotta say, the John Woo Metroid gif. I don't know. They probably cut this because it probably it doesn't really fit at all into anything. But this would have been really cool. It's a really awesome sequence right there. Seeing Samus, jumping in slow motion midair, the roll, elbowing like forearming a space pirate in the throat and shooting it. Looks pretty cool.
You know why I skipped this is because they basically took this and put it into Other M. All your melee combat and your ridiculous slow motion dives and stuff like that.
Yeah, this
I'm
is.
I'm about this.
Yeah, I'm about it too. I still think like Samus getting like rolling with the space pirate, getting a little too close for comfort, but um, I love this kind of stuff. Samus getting way more active and being more actiony looks cool. So I would have loved to see more stuff like this.
Notable too that she is in her power suit and not the PED suit. So
Hmm.
maybe this was originally taking place at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
I don't
this
know.
could have been like in the very intro sequence, right? But I'm sure this was something just like maybe like a animation like show off or a concept rather than something that was actually in game and got cut.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now let's get over to
Hmm.
the Space Pirate Metroid breeding facility. This place looks kind of creepy. It was originally supposed to be explored on the pirate homeworld, which makes a lot of sense that they would have something local and not just all these test facilities out on these distant planets like Talon 4 and everything like that. Some pretty cool artwork here, like a pretty neat looking picture of a Metroid kind of in captivity with some cords attached to it. I always really liked the pirate homeworld. Actually, I know that some people aren't in love with it because it's kind of dark and you have to do a lot of stealth segments there. But I always had a really good time when I was there, acid rain and all. So I would have been actually totally down to see this Metroid test facility. But I can understand maybe why they didn't put it in because at this point, the story really is about like the Federation versus the pirates and the looming threat of phase. So maybe the Metroid facility would have been like not necessarily needed at this juncture in the story, but it would have been pretty cool maybe to see it nonetheless.
Yeah, something that certainly I don't think it would have hurt, but maybe just they cut it, for time, or making it more concise and whatnot. It looks really cool though. Yeah, it's not something that like I'm losing sleep over not having to go through. Has some interesting ideas. You got the eggs, you got like the Metroids hooked up to stuff. Pretty cool. Maybe they threw this in as like a room or two and snuck it in there rather than being its whole area. But yeah, shame that didn't make the full game. Pretty interesting stuff, but nothing too crazy. It's pretty run of the mill space pirate stuff we've seen in other areas.
Well, we got some more concept art here, and it looks like it's a mixture of concept art from all over. We've got some shots of Elysium. We've got some shots of Brio. I think there's one of the pirate homeworld there, right at the bottom. Some pretty cool
I
environmental stuff here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think this is actually this isn't like concept stuff. This is for all this is in game. It's just like shots like at really hard like angles or like places you can't really access in game, I suppose.
All right, let's keep it going here. We have got some storyboards, and if you've kind of seen one storyboard, you've seen them all. But there's some very cool artwork here. A lot of like black and white artwork. I'm not picking out any particular scene in the game here. I don't know if that's Dark Samus or not. I can't tell. It doesn't necessarily look like Dark Samus. The visor is too angular, but looks like one heck of a battle nonetheless. Looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, the storyboard. Yeah, this is. I would say it's probably Dark Samus. Like maybe just an early, drawing of it. I mean, it goes from that to like it's kind of like almost watercolory, to like more like drawn like storyboard after that. Which looks
Mm-hmm.
really cool, almost like manga-ish, right? And of course, you got Samus and Ridley fighting for a bit of it. Samus flying in onto a planet which has a storm going off. Samus losing her suit, it seems, flying around in a ship, getting back her suit. It looks like she runs into Rundus, it seems, or someone else at one point. And looks like she runs into like an Aurora unit or a Mother Brain, something like that. Or some really awesome shots in here. Like I'm looking through all this, like scrolling through it, and you get the Helios, the ball unit again, fighting that. Some really sick and awesome ideas here. Like I love the shots, like where Samus is like her reflection in the broken glass, and it gets like cracked through, and you see her fight, floating around in like the vacuum of space. So really awesome stuff in here. And kind of, it seems like it has some sort of influence on Metroid Prime 3 itself, though we don't actually get these sequences in game.
Yeah, I'm really just like impressed by how great like Samus's suit and Samus's ship look. Like the lighting on these pictures just looks like very cool, especially because it looks like they were just like hand drawn pencil drawings. It looks really awesome. So I always loved kind of taking a look at storyboards and seeing like what kind of changed, what stayed the same, where you can kind of see that influence of. Yeah, actually, the watercolor was a perfect way to describe the first couple there. They look very serene, very cool, very creepy in the sense of the middle one with all like orange eyes and dark Samus and regular Samus standing off next to each other. So yeah, some really cool stuff here, and it looks like that is the end of the cut content. For good measure, they threw in our Ridley Mecha Dragon base that we don't know if it's an inch or a mile long. So we've got that in here one last time. But that takes us to the end of the cut content for Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah, I want to go back and look through more of these like storyboard ideas. So really, like they have some cool um, sequences here. Obviously, some really sick artwork, both in the storyboards and like just throughout the concept. Some of the stuff we've seen before. Definitely, some of it is new to me. I like how we got to see some of these models out really up close, and yeah, this is a solid haul. Shout outs to Mama Robotnik for assembling all of this. There's just so much. I mean, this has to be like all these threads combined, like the largest like organization, or I wouldn't say database, but like collection of Metroid like alternate content or cut content or whatever, like that on the internet, right? Like it's all right here. So, and this has been around for almost a decade, it seems. So really cool stuff. And would love to hear people's thoughts on some of these like storyboards and what they think some of these storyboards might have been or meant for. Some of them are obviously like boss cutscenes and sequences, some intro sequences, but maybe if anyone catches any cool ideas or things we missed, I'd love to hear what you think. Especially on like the Dark Samus with the whip, what do you think about that? Things like that. Yeah, some really awesome stuff in here. I'm glad we've made an effort to go through as much of it as we can.
Well, we're not done either. We've still got Metroid Prime Hunters, which we're not going to be able to get to today. We've got what they call Toon Metroid, so we'll figure out what that is. And we might even go back and revisit some of the few pieces of Metroid Prime 2 that we didn't cover in Metroid Prime 1.5. So, yeah, I mean, shout out to the GOAT, Mama Robotnik, over on NeoGaf. Not Reddit, NeoGaf.
Yes.
That's like the OG kind of site. So, yeah, shout out to Mama, wherever you are in the world. Can't encourage everybody enough to open this and follow along as we're going through this. Check it out. Share it with some of your Metroid friends. I will link it in the show's description and then the tweet. And yeah, just go take a look, because there's some really cool ideas here and a lot of great like what if moments that come up from viewing this. Dak, anything you want to say before we get out of here for this week?
I'm trying to think. Oh, you mentioned some TV shows you watched. I mentioned movies. I did recently finish The Magicians, which was pretty decent. I'm currently finishing up The 100, which I think is a pretty good CW sci-fi show that's finishing up on Netflix. If you're into sci-fi and can take some of the cheesy like melodrama, pretty good. I got to finish The Expanse. Andy, I don't know if you've watched that, The Expanse.
I'm trying to convince my wife to watch it with me, but she's not having it.
Yeah, so I've watched the first 3 seasons or so, and I have to rewatch them and watch the 4th season. My roommate's watching Billions, so I got to get into that. A lot of TV, a lot of shows to watch and finish up. I think I'm missing another show, but that being said, yeah, that's all I could think of. But I want to make sure I mentioned that before we got out of here.
Shout out to The Expanse. I want to watch that. I'm just like, I'm a sucker for sci-fi. Obviously, I love Metroid, so yeah, sci-fi is like right up my jam. I actually just went and bought like a bunch of like classic sci-fi books, so I'm gonna start to plow through some of those.
Nice.
So yeah. Well, we hope that you guys like sci-fi and that you guys are liking the Omega Metroid podcast. Thank you to Metroid Database as well. We should have mentioned at the top of the show, just for their continued support throughout the year of 2020. Go and check them out. They've been doing this since 1996. That is older than a lot of our listeners listening now. So
it's not older than me. Never mind. Almost.
It's close. It's
almost
close. So, I mean, you know where to go if you need your Metroid fix. And you know where to go if you want to subscribe to us. Go over to Podbean, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review if you think we've earned it. We'd really appreciate that. And tell your Metroid fans in your life all about this podcast and where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. Check us out over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod. I am at Spiteri316. He is at DaxCity_. And we are going to get out of here. Happy New Year, everybody, and we will see you back here next week.